Hi, I'm Matthew, and I'm working as a 3D artist at Rivet Games, and I'm gonna take you around the 523 and show you a little bit of the development of it. For the 523, we obviously originally made this train for the TS1 version of Train Simulator, and we wanted to revisit it again in TSW. So we had a really good model to start with and bring over to TSW, but we obviously needed to rebuild it a little bit and kind of update the graphics a bit and put it into the new pipeline for TSW. So the kind of first thing we did was we revisited all the models, and we've kind of gone over and added in a bit more detail, a bit more resolution into the model, and just overall kind of just improved it a bit. If you pay attention to the small little details, we've kind of gone in and added more resolution around the front of the train, added in, remodeled bits and pieces to kind of just bring it up to a slightly better quality. But overall, it was a good model to begin with, and it's an even better model now. One of the big jobs that we had to do taking this model and reworking it for TSW was completely remapping it and redesigning the textures to work with TSW, because it uses a much better material system and a lighting system. So we had to redo all the textures and all the UVs from scratch, so that we could add in all the nice effects and PBR stuff that we get with working with TSW. We did the same with the cab. If I open up the cab also was revisited, and little bits and pieces were kind of touched up, improved. You'll notice some of the buttons and some of the switches and things, they've got a bit more resolution in there. But the big thing that happened with the cab again is the texture work and just more kind of realistic details. So in the final version, you'll see vents and grills where you can look behind them. There's a lot more detail in the ceiling, and as we come back through into the corridor, obviously in the TS1 version you can't walk around in it, so we've added in just a bit more detail back here and put in a bit more care into how we've built this out. And obviously the doors and all of that weren't really built in the original model to work, so we've come in and we've remodeled the doors so that we can animate them and open them and allow you to kind of walk in and out of the cab. And have interaction with those doors. In here, we've obviously worked on the ETCS and creating new artwork for the ETCS and how you interact with the cab. So there's been a bunch of work done in here, making sure that we've got the correct art working for the screens and the buttons. We've also redone on how we do the emissives and having all the button effects work. So you'll notice a bunch of the buttons, they kind of work a lot nicer and a lot more accurately in the TSW version. You should be able to interact with a lot more things. All the blinds work in this cab now. You can obviously open and close the windows like you normally would be able to. And yeah, there's just a little bit more to do in this cab, and a bit more interaction that you can have, and just a bit more detail everywhere. Obviously in TS1 you normally would get your passenger view, but you don't really get to walk around it and explore the kind of passenger area of the train, whereas in TSW you do. So for the TSW models, we basically remodeled these from scratch. There's very little left of the original models, and this was to allow for the player to be able to come in, walk around, sit in any of the seats. You can see this model doesn't have the seats because we placed them in the engine, but this is one of the passenger interiors without the seats in here. And yeah, we've added in a lot more detail in here. We've kind of come in and given a lot more resolution to all the models, and there's very little in here that exists from the original train. We've obviously modeled all the interiors for all 4 coaches. So you've got your 2 driving coaches, one with a first class section, and obviously that's got all interactable. You can go through, open and close that door, walk through, and it's been quite nice revisiting this model and just making sure we get all of these little details working. There's been a lot of care and attention put into making these interiors look quite authentic. One of the little intermediate coaches. So this is the one with the bathroom, the toilet. So you've got this little toilet area, and yeah, you'll be able to interact in this little area, kind of come in and out, sit in any of the seats along here. There's been a lot done to this area of the train. We also have working displays in in the passenger areas now, so you'll be able to see what destination you're going to as a passenger while the train is driving. So this is one of the areas that we spent a lot of time is working in our painting program, redoing the textures, basically like from scratch, re-looking at all the original reference, and rebuilding everything just to work with TSW because the whole system works so much differently. This is Ross, one of our vehicle artists. He worked mainly on the exterior and the cab, and he did a really good job basically redoing this interior and getting it much more authentic and more detailed. So this is one of the areas where I was kind of mentioning you'll probably notice just a bit more realism in the model, with the 3D effect of being able to look through the grills on the sides, just a bit more detail all around down here. Obviously nicer lighting effects that you're going to get in the engine, that we're able to kind of utilize with TSW. And he's done a nice job. So even from the outside, when you're looking in, you'll be able to see all the little details of behind the desk. He spent a lot of time just making sure he was catching all these little kind of screws and the vents and little holders and all that kind of thing. And obviously back here, he's also put in the details for, I guess, little access panels and modeling in all the 3D details for the lights. Getting this door working, so when this door opens, you'll still be able to see all the kind of mechanism for it working. So he's been texturing all of that and getting that working. And there's a lot of bolts and little extra details that he's added in around the rear of the train, the cab here. So he's done a really nice job. And I'll show off the floor. Obviously, it's worn and been used, and it's got scuffs and little marks and dirt and stuff like that, which is quite nice and should be quite visible in the game. This is a little shot of some of the controls where he spent a bit of time like just upping the quality of the controls and how when they turn on, the emissive of them, and how they look when they're lit up. So they look a lot nicer now. Again, with all the rework we're doing, we had to redo the interiors from basically from scratch. So this is a little look at some of the texturing, the pipeline that we've used, the texturing tool that we use for doing the interiors. And here you can see we've got the seats in. This is where Magda, one of our other vehicle artists, she worked on texturing the entire interior and adding in lots of little details like around the steps, all the heating vents, getting in all these little kind of like details in the roof and the ceiling, just making sure it looks quite nice. Even these little kind of details that you might not spot around these little like attachments and stuff like that. She's done a really good job. We've paid a lot of attention to all the decals and the little like details that are around these doorways, so you'll be able to see all the differences and compare them to what's there in real life. The other thing, obviously, we had to do when setting up these vehicles is TSW uses a completely different animation system and a way for us to interact with the train. So we had to completely set up all the models, redo all the models, set up for animations. So this should have one of the animations of the doors opening. And basically we had to reanimate the train and get all of those animations set up and re-rig and reskin the train for TSW. So there was a bunch of work done doing that. So we've got one of the doors opening in this little animation. All the doors will open, and obviously there's the first class animation where there's a bunch of animations in there, and we even kind of set up the buttons to be able to be animated. These all should be able to work. And the cab, again, was also a big one that needed set up, adding in all the bones for the rig to allow us to be able to get all of these moving. And that's one of the things that allows us in TSW to have better animations on things like the blinds, because we can actually control them better, whereas in TS1 it's not really possible for us to do this kind of stretching of polygons and animations. So we get a lot more flexibility and freedom doing animations in TSW, and can just add in that bit of extra impact, quality. I wanted to kind of just show the 523 in game and just kind of point out some of the stuff that you'd only see in game, that we're kind of a little bit more detail that we've added in and kind of attention we've paid to the train. for TSW. So one of the main things for on the outside that you'll see that's kind of slightly a bit more improved is we've got slightly better destination boards working. The way we've set these boards up is you can, for gameplay, we can control the service and destination separately. So this gives us a bit more flexibility when we're trying to create destinations and set up the destination boards. One of the other thing we've done is we've added in art for the interiors so that we can create these destination boards to work. And the scripts have also set up the art for the clocks to work, so the clocks all work on the interior destination boards. And you'll also see we've got little destination boards working on the side, and they're working a lot better than what we would be able to do in TS1. And even when you get up, you can see the kind of LED arrangement, and there's just a lot more quality put into these destination boards. One of the other nice little areas that we've kind of done with this train is we've kind of put in just a bit more detail into the paintwork of these trains, and we've added in extra effects in Unreal. So when you're playing the game, you'll be able to see kind of that finer kind of paint and dirt kind of bump that you get on the skin of a train, and the metalwork and the kind of lighting works really nice on these trains now in TSW. And yeah, I think that this is going to be a really fun train to drive. And there's going to be a lot of little details that you're going to be able to explore. And if I come into the cab, and you can kind of get a look at what the cab's looking like in game, I think it's looking pretty good with all the screens and all the buttons just set up nicely. It's going to be a good train to drive. So that was a bit of an overview of the 523. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Please look forward to one of our next Devblog videos going over more of the tech setup and the driving of the train. Well, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more content, and look forward to doing another one of these.